State Representative John Patterson with us this morning, and how you been doing?
I've been doing just great.
You haven't had to fight the snow today?
No,
the
not
last time
recently.
you were here it was sub-zero or something.
Yep, the folks at Conneaut warmed things up.
All right.
That's it.
Got to thank you for putting me in touch with Dr. Curry. He came on the show here a couple weeks ago and did a fantastic job. As a matter of fact, I'd like to have him on once a month. He had phone calls, people asking about their pets, and talked about Lyme disease.
There you go.
And he's been on top of this and for quite a while, and said that it's nothing to mess around with.
No.
You know.
No.
So how are you proceeding with your?
Well, the resolution that would encourage the CDC to move quicker in terms of testing, that passed the House. It's over in the Senate now. It passed unanimously a couple weeks ago. And this afternoon, I have a meeting with a number of interested parties to work out legislation that would inform individuals at the time of a blood draw, or to do, in addition to that, educational outreach that we have a Lyme disease issue in Ohio. Physicians, agricultural folks, anybody in the outdoors, just to be careful of it. Now, I'll give you an example. I had a discussion with the one entomologist I've been working with. He's made a career of this. I think I told you about this, Dr. Needham. And he said even our hunters have to make a life change here. When they go out in the woods and they come back after a day's hunt, they're going to have to look each other over for those ticks. Something that we just haven't thought about, but they're that pervasive and they're not going to go away. So education about that and a little bit more prevention, but interested party meeting this afternoon to craft legislation that would kind of instruct the Ohio Department of Health to move in that direction and provide more training and more courses, because physicians have to take CEUs too as an option for their continuing education pattern.
You know what he said, John? It really stunned me. Ashtabula County is like #1 in Conneaut particularly.
Yes, you are.
And I did not know that. Now we've had reports of people having ticks landed on them, and then they find them luckily, or they check their dog or cat. But he actually said Conneaut was like #1 on the list, and it stunned me. It really did. You know, now I'm really watching, you know.
Well, it's good that our people are proactive about that. And keep in mind, Prescott has had ticks for a long time, and Lyme disease, and when you take into consideration our proximity there, Conneaut's a gateway.
Unbelievable.
So just have to be careful.
Well, I know one thing, and I hate, especially in the summertime, sitting out and having bugs and all that sort of mosquitoes. I hate mosquitoes, afraid of them too because of the other disease you can get with them, which is West Nile.
West Nile.
Nothing to mess around with
No.
there either.
No. In fact, a couple weeks ago, since I saw you last, I was up at the Cleveland Clinic and I met with a couple of physicians who deal with their practices in infectious diseases. And they want me to broaden the scope to include all vector-borne illnesses, which would be West Nile, and there are other tick-borne illnesses that we have to be careful of too. So we're looking to incorporate that, because a few years ago the testing center in Columbus, the funding was cut. We were able to restore that in the last budget, and they've tested mosquitoes most recently. And they're moving to test ticks that are being sent in as well. But we definitely have to get on top of it. We're just going to have to manage it. And I want people to enjoy the outdoors. My wife and I love the outdoors too. But we just have to be careful because these things aren't going away. That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, working on that.
What else you got going on?
Well, I was curious as to, there's a piece, we passed the transportation budget, and I think I sent you that email about the cost of the bridge. I was way out off the mark, and I apologize for that. I just knew it was something that the one listener wondered where the license plate money went. Well, that one bridge alone is going to be over 13 million by the time all is said and done. But the transportation budget's coming back to us, and the Senate added a clause, and it concerns me, and I've been hearing a lot this weekend. I've been out to various places, raising the speed limit on rural roads from 70 to 75.
Yes.
Personally,
I
I have some concerns about that, and I was wondering what you were hearing about that too.
I haven't heard a whole bunch yet, but I'm with you. I'm not so sure if I favor that, and there's a reason for that. I live in an area, and I take a lot of rides out in the country and that sort of stuff, and I've noticed this. People aren't watching the speed limit as it is now. If it's 25 or 35, they're still going 60. I mean, you give them another 5 miles an hour, and you're going to be going 80, 85.
Right.
It scares me a little bit.
And granted, it would only be on the rural interstates.
Yes.
But 75 becomes the new 80.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not professional race drivers. There's things that happen. I think about people taking phone calls. I think about, and it happens, texting, and how quickly things can change.
Yeah.
And we're not equipped for that necessarily, all of us. And even myself, every now and then I make a ride to Columbus, and I'll be deep in thought about something, and condition can change on the road, and I make it a habit. I just put put it on 70 and let it, the cruise control, let it go, so I don't have to think about that. But sometimes cars can creep up on you pretty fast.
When was it, John? Was it when Nixon was president? When they lowered the
to 55.
55.
55. In fact, I think it was Ford actually, because Nixon had left office.
Okay.
In that summer of 72. When was that? Summer of 74. It was in August.
Was it
was in August because the Watergate blew up in 73. Yeah. That'd be right. August of 74. So I think it was Gerald Ford. But we remember that.
Yeah.
And how everybody. Yeah. But here's the difference. Our vehicles now, and this is an unintended consequence, actually deliver better gas mileage as a whole.
Right.
And we're having problems collecting gas tax because we're not buying as much because our vehicles are using it more efficiently. So, I mean, that's part of the argument, and the roads are definitely designed. I mean, if you were just driving down 90, you could do 75, 80, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the congestion on the roads that concerns me, because we definitely have, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think that if we did a study, we would see that there are drivers, and I count myself as one of those that are mature in terms of age, and our reaction time just isn't as sharp as what it used to be.
I've done this, and I think everybody has probably once in their life done this, where even if you're driving, like when I come over here in the morning, it's dark, and there's not a whole bunch of traffic out yet, and I've caught myself not daydreaming, but in thought, thinking about what I was going to say when I go on here, and going through a red light. You know, just not paying attention, and that's scary. You know, that you have to be a defensive driver all the time, basically.
Right.
This day and age, and it really bothers me when you hit it right on the head. Texters and people using cell phones while they're driving. That bothers me a little bit. You know, I want to go back to the bridge.
Yes.
They delayed that.
I know. We've had some weather problems, and the railroad has not yet given permission, and we knew that was going to be a problem all along.
What is the situation there? Do you understand that? I mean, do they have to give permission for that work to actually take place?
They're going to be dismantling that over the railroad.
Correct.
So the key is to make sure that during that process, those tracks remain open. So in order to do that, the railroad has to approve the deconstruction plans, if you will, to make sure they meet their muster.
Okay.
That hasn't happened yet.
Oh boy.
That's well beyond my pay grade, I tell you.
I think it's supposed to happen this week.
Yeah.
And I was a little taken back by it because I was really wanting to see that thing go on. Now it's going to drag on a little
A
longer.
little longer, I know.
But I do appreciate the fact that you got back to me the last time on those numbers because, and you did it immediately, so I appreciate that on what it was going to cost for that thing. Still a lot of money.
Still a lot of money, and that's, I don't know what I was thinking of sometimes this early in the morning.
I gotcha. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hey, watch that dip there just before the bridge on the east side.
Yes, thank you.
That goes all the way across.
Yes.
I hit it both ways. Hey, wasn't it Jimmy Carter that did the speed limit deal?
Actually,
During the oil embargo?
it was during that time period. I thought it was, we could look it up, but I don't want to take my time
Might have
away
been
from my
Carter.
guest here. I actually think it was Ford, if somebody could,
Well, we can have Andy check on that.
yeah.
Hey,
Andy, he's smiling already.
Hey, I was on your Facebook page the other day,
Okay.
and you know, I read about the budget for the transportation getting tabled and all that.
Yes.
But then underneath, what caught my eye, underneath a picture of the potholes and everything, you know, with the cars in them, there was a thing about the state and local people
Yes.
trying to get companies to ante up more to take some of the burden off. Do you recall that little?
Yes, I read that.
There?
Yeah, I read that article, and I posted that because our concerns with infrastructure aren't just confined to Ohio, they're nationwide. And that article caught my eye. I think I caught that on NPR and had it posted on our Facebook page. Or no, that one came from the New York Times.
Yeah.
It definitely is a concern, and I was wanting to stimulate conversation, as it did here, about how to address that problems, because in the meantime, remember when, and Pat, you remember this, I was mentioning that we've got problems with our dam infrastructure, and lo and behold, Buckeye Lake has created a problem, and we're looking at $150 million to fix that one dam. We have a real infrastructure crisis that's looming, and we have to look at some creative ways to meet that need.
Yeah, but the companies ain't gonna ante up. I mean, I thought it was for the roads you wanted them to take some of the, because you know, the interstate's nice. I was on 90 yesterday, went from Kingsville to Austinburg and back. Yeah, it's real nice. Nice and smooth and that. But the cities, the towns, the two major towns, Conneaut and Asheville, are collapsing. I mean, the roads are they're just caving in all over the place. But I don't see the companies, you know, going to ask the companies the burden, to take some of the burden off, because they're not going to eat it. I mean, we all know that. They're going to pass the cost on to us, right?
And I checked with ODOT about paving. I had a question concerning Conneaut, and Geneva as well is having some issues with Route 20, especially after this winter. It is on
and
the
Asheville, I mean, go over that bridge down, you know, between Lake Avenue and West Avenue. I mean, that thing's bad.
Yes, it's on their horizon, but it's on the distant horizon.
Yeah.
So some of the streets beyond the state roads, though, because of the cuts to local government, they've been hard pressed, and the fact that there isn't much revenue in terms of like income tax. There aren't as many people necessarily working to produce that revenue. So
yeah, and I heard the guy down in, like you said, about the cars are getting better gas. Where was he at? The county engineer from Mahoney County.
yeah,
He was complaining that there's too many electric cars on the road, too many propane cars. And come on, give me a break. I haven't seen that many. You know, not propane cars. They ain't lining up at the campgrounds or Kingsville Towing to get propane. I haven't seen none.
there's a fellow out on 193 who has created his own system for compressed natural gas, and there is a station down on 80 that opened last summer, Interstate 80 down in Youngstown,
Yeah.
that sells compressed natural gas. In fact, I filled up a truck and a Cadillac just to see how it worked when they had that grand opening. It was fascinating, really.
Yeah.
Not that many, but definitely other options. And as we transition, the question is, how do we raise revenue to pay for the roads on which we all like
when
to
you go
drive?
up to the gas stations up there in Kingsville, and Love's and all of them, Shell and that, I mean, they're always packed. I mean, there's always cars there. I mean, there's always cars. You got to wait a lot of times to get to the pump. And now they're paying 50 cents a gallon for every gallon they're pumping. I mean, how much total are they getting? From the state and
Federal. Don't forget the feds. They take their share too.
Oh yeah, 50 cents. I mean, 25 cents a state, 25 cents for the feds.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the pumps are just packed with people most of except at night. It's
Right.
kind of boring in, but I don't know. What happened when Strickland was in the office? You guys were in the hole. Where'd all that money go? It sure didn't go into fixing the roads.
Well, went into various aspects of the government, because if you remember, that's about when the Great Recession started too.
Oh, the Great Recession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blame it on that, yeah. All right, I don't know. It just seems like somebody wants it in our pockets, and the work ain't getting done. The work is not getting done on these roads. That's all I gotta say. Goodbye.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
I did have an email last week, I think it was, for you, from a lady that said she was under, maybe it was a phone call, under the understanding that she said way back 35, 40 years ago, and I kind of remember this, that she wants to know if it's still in effect, but when we get our driver's license, they take a $5 tax out for the supposedly bridges and roads. Is that still?
I believe it is. I heard mention of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was way back.
Yeah.
We were just young guys then.
Oh yeah. And young as Andy.
I wish. But that was, I remember that, and she just wondered
I think
if
they
it's still in
do.
effect. Is it still being used? And they don't. Back then, it got a lot of publicity. You don't hear
Right.
much about that now.
No.
From Anaheim, California. This is especially for you, John. Any updates on the boat ramp on Woodworth Road?
No updates. I can tell you that, but we kind of answered that question with the last time I was on here
Yep.
with Mr. Best as to who has control of that, and it's something we still need to get right.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Pat. This is James. Hey, I've got a question for John.
All right.
What are they going to do about everybody that works at Luke Jan's over there? Are they going to reroute everybody a different route, or are they
For
going
the
to
bridge.
let
Oh, yeah.
it going up and down that side road there they got by the bridge?
Yeah, the Gore Road is definitely going to see a lot more traffic, and they're aware of that, and ODOT will. They've done an assessment up front and any damage that has taken place, and this is the way it's been discussed with me. Once a project is complete, ODOT will restore those side roads back to their original condition. The official detour is going to be a little bit complicated, and that's what I need for you through PAC to communicate to me. If there are issues with any of the signage, I need to be able to pass that on to ODOT, because they are very, very good at responding to our needs, and we definitely want to make sure that things are open for the good folks at Conneaut and Kingsville.
That's what I was wondering, because I work at Luke Jan's and there's only one road going to the shop there coming out.
Mhm.
They're going to have to go a different road or around the bridge, or what they're going to do or whatever.
Yeah.
They were supposed to have some meetings that I think they are going to do that today or tomorrow, where they're actually going to meet with the businesses and the factories and explain what route you should take.
They will be handing out personally pamphlets and
Are they?
letters to do that. That's what they did in Geneva
Okay.
area when that was
Are
closed.
they going to hand out directions too when they hand out pamphlets and that? Or?
Yes, I believe that's part of it. Yep.
They were supposed to have a couple public hearings, and that never transpired just yet. I doubt if they'll be able to get it into this week, but
Probably not, because when I left the shop this morning, they had some crews over there doing something by the track.
they had what?
Or-
We can't hear you, James.
They had some crews over there doing something by the tracks. I don't know what they're doing.
Oh,
I don't know if they're starting to work on them or what they're doing. But I was just wondering if they're gonna have us keep going that side road in and out, or if they're just gonna have to go around a different way. Cause I don't know of any other way of getting to that shop but that road.
mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you hear any more about it, James, let us know, okay?
Yeah.
All right, well,
Appreciate
Okay.
that. Thanks.
Thanks,
not a
James.
problem.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. Yeah, my wife, who works at Star Beacon, drives to Asheville every day, and she told me Saturday, she goes, I usually go down 20, especially in the wintertime, because it's a little more safe other than Lake Road. And she goes, I think Lake Road's going to be the alternate route now with that, instead of going all the way around to Creek Road and all that sort of stuff. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning, Representative Patterson. Hi, Pat. How you doing?
Good
Hi,
morning.
Renee.
Good. Hey, Representative Patterson, I was wondering, a couple of weeks ago, there was an article on TV, the TV news, about cruelty to animals, how it's only a misdemeanor, no matter what level of cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you smack it and give it a bloody lip or you kill it, it's still just a misdemeanor.
Mm.
And there was a representative from the Cleveland area.
Yes, Bill Patman.
Okay. I was wondering, could you partner with him and sort of see what's going on with that and put some teeth into that cruelty to animals stuff? Because it should be up to a prosecutor and a police officer and a judge as to what charges, you know, whether it be a misdemeanor or a felony level or, you know, it just doesn't seem right.
I agree.
I want to thank you for that because tomorrow in the Agricultural Committee we are going to be hearing that bill for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Representative Patman is one of the sponsors. Representative Hall, who is a farmer, former county commissioner. Holmes County is another one of the joint sponsors. This is Goddard's law.
Yes, Dick Goddard.
Dick Goddard is going to come down to testify. That passed out of committee last session. I voted for it on the House floor. It went over to the Senate, and for whatever reason, it died there. And in the process, if legislation doesn't make it through both the House and the Senate, within that legislative session, and that was in the 130th General Assembly, we're now in the 131st, then you have to start all over again. So they're starting early to get that one through, and I don't really see any problems. Now, I'm told, I haven't seen the exact text of the bill yet. That's on my to-do list between now and tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
But I'm told there have been some slight changes to it. I want to know what those are first. But the way it was laid out in the last General Assembly, it was a good piece of legislation. And it would provide sensible punishment for those who take advantage and are abusive to our furry friends.
Correct.
So thank you for your concern there.
Well, thank you for your staying on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you.
Bye-bye.
What else is happening down in
I was
Columbus?
just going to ask or raise that for you.
Okay.
As I said, the transportation bill is coming back to us. It's going to conference committee. The Senate didn't agree with everything that we proposed. So that's one piece. And tomorrow, I can tell you, remember I was telling you about the Water Quality Act that we passed out of the House for the Western Lake Erie Basin? That's coming back to us. The Senate version, SB 1, is now in its sixth draft. And the governor's office has weighed in on it, and there's some changes they want to make. We're going to be hearing that tomorrow, and the hopes are that it will get voted out on Wednesday, get over to the Senate, so that by Thursday it can be voted out of there and the governor can sign it into law. But there are some changes coming, and again, it's only Western Lake Erie Basin, going to provide for some more stratified steps for those individuals with small farms. There'll be a time schedule for them. They're going to have 2 years to comply. And medium-sized farms, and that's like if you had cattle, it would be less than 300 head, or 300 to 999 is considered medium-sized operation. And they have different quotas for like chickens and hogs and veal, that sort of thing. Bottom line is, the medium-sized farmers are going to have a year to comply, and then the hope is that we're going to have this all up and running quickly. And it also has, it again deals with lake dredging, the open dumping of, and that's a concern for me because of what we've seen in Conneaut and Ashtabula. We did some open lake dumping. Mm-hmm. And it's not as effective, or it's not as impactful here because the lake is deeper. But this would essentially put the kibosh on a lot of the lake dumping in the western end.
A couple other things, John, that I wanted to ask you about, just to kind of rehash the septic tank thing.
Yes, I've been in touch with Ray Saporito and his counterpart in Geauga County, Bob Weisdack. They're very much concerned about that.
Are they?
And once I get through the budget, once I get through charter school reform, and once I get through this water quality, and we also have the testing, the park testing reform, all of that, I'm involved in all of that right now. Ray and Bob and I are going to be gathering a group of counterparts, health department officials, to examine the new law that came out. Because we do have, there's no doubt there are faulty septic systems, but there has to be a better way than a one-size-fits-all type approach,
right,
to address that problem. And that's where I need their expertise to see what we can do. So they've agreed. I had a long conversation, and Bob Weisdack, even though he works in Geauga County, he lives in Jefferson. In fact, 3 doors down from my mom.
Really?
So I tease him constantly about making sure she's well looked after. And I had his daughter in school years ago. So Bob and Ray are very passionate about this, and they want to do what's right without crippling economic growth.
I don't know. Now that that law is into effect, I don't know whether. What could you do to make it?
That's what I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I haven't spent enough time. I've been trying to put out these other fires first.
Sure.
Because it's going to take some time to see. Because they just, you're absolutely correct. Without looking at the iPhone, it just did go into effect in January this year.
Yeah.
So, and there's got to be a way, because nobody wants faulty septic system to run into our ditches, run into our streams, and yet we don't want the system itself to be worth more than the land on which it sits.
Well, I had a gentleman that I had dinner with here a few weeks ago, and he was aware of, and he was glad that you brought this out, but he owns some property in a septic tank area, and he goes, I don't know whether I can afford to build now, because by the time I'm done with the septic tank, it's going to add to the bill, add to the cost. And
we're looking at $20,000.
Yeah.
For some of those new units, which could really cripple rural development. Now, I was talking to the chair of the the full name of the Agricultural Committee is Agriculture and Rural Development.
Okay.
And once we get through the water quality issue, Chairman Hill and I decided that we'd kind of like to look at issues that impact rural development. And septic issues would be on that list. So it's a concern. It's an ongoing concern.
Got a phone call the other day, John, about if I had heard anything, and I haven't. I'm wondering if you have on the Ashcraft issue.
Oh my gosh, there were testimony last week, and I'm told it went to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Whoa.
People all over the state, and I had a conversation Friday afternoon from would have been a constituent in Kinsman. They're at one time part of our district, but we had a long conversation about a home in Kinsman that would be in a workplace that would be impacted by that. It's a hot button issue. And part of it's driven by the federal government, part of it's driven by the state's interpretation. And I've had several conversations. I mean, the good folks at Ashcraft, Jan Church and Ann Zeitler keep me posted on that issue. Director Martin's he promised me he'd come back to the county in the spring when the weather breaks to address those concerns. And I'm trying to think ahead, and I'll share with you another issue that I'm thinking ahead about. If these changes are to come and we can't stop them, I mean, you have to prepare several scenarios. But it might be possible to think outside the box and engage in what I phrased and Director Martin agreed with, reverse integration, whereby industry, selected industry that could do this would actually take some of its operations to that center, so that there would be integration of those who would still have the support of the Ashcraft workshop environment, the support staff there, but in compliance with federal law would be working alongside those who would not require that, as opposed to taking the population out and integrating them into the workforce.
Right.
I don't know what that would entail. I mean, that's way down the road, but I'm trying to think of ways to address this issue and still comply with the federal law. It's very complicated, and as such, I want to go slow. I'm not one I try not to rush in to decisions like this, of this magnitude, without doing my homework.
Right, right.
And yet, we have to comply with federal law and state law, however that's interpreted. So I'm very much aware of that issue. On top of that one.
Another thing that I noticed is creeping back into the headlines the last week or so is fracking. Hadn't heard much about that lately, but and I think you checked in on it on the land that we had out south here that they were talking about.
Yes.
And I think you made a report to council, as a matter of fact, on it. That never happened.
No, because they did not reapply for a permit.
You never. I was going to ask you. They didn't reapply then.
No, and the way the law is, they could reapply. They could reapply if they wanted. Still, can't stop them from that. And there are only certain guidelines that the Ohio Department of Natural Resources can apply to. In one of those, there's no prohibition against putting an injection well within the 100-year floodplain of any estuary in Ohio. And I think that's wrong, because we can put injection wells anywhere, essentially. Well, not anywhere, but there's more options there. And
I think it might have been you that said, Pat, they could be in your backyard.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially.
So we've got an issue, and I had a long discussion about the fact, in fact it was with the Ohio EPA, that we take in a lot of brine from Pennsylvania, a lot of brine, and it's not ours. And this individual was concerned about Ohio waste and make sure we have room for our own.
Good morning, you're on the air.
Hi Pat, hi John. This is Bob Best.
Hey, there he is.
What a great job, John, that you've been doing for Asheville County.
Thank you.
How you doing, Bob?
I had a little bit of a concern today. Noticed it's been getting some national attention with lands that are being bought up by nonprofits through grant money.
Yes.
That are taking away from our tax base. Do you have anything that how you feel about that, or it seems like anybody that forms a nonprofit can get this tax-free status, and it seems like there needs to be some kind of balance to help promote industry.
And that's the key, Bob, and I agree with you on that. In fact, you are the third person within the last 6 days to bring that issue to my attention. And right here in Ashtabula County, Morgan Township, Rock Creek area, has a good deal of land that is untaxable for them. First of all, in Morgan, and you know where I'm talking about, Morgan, right? Rock Creek Village, Roaming Shores, and then you have the Boy Scout camp, and there are several large acreage there in addition to that for the Conservancy, which is all well and good, and we want to preserve our land, but it limits their tax base, and they are really crippled. And there are other areas that could be impacted by this as well. So I've been ruminating on this, and I don't know exactly, and I'm looking for some ideas how to balance the need for local communities to have a tax base, and yet on the other hand to preserve areas too. I mean, there's got to be something, some balance in there, and I'm going to be looking at perhaps what other states do as a guideline to see how we can address this issue, because I certainly agree with you that we've got to find that sweet spot there in the middle somewhere between progress and preservation.
Well, thanks, John, for answering that question for me. I'm glad that you're looking into this, and I know I've been getting a lot of calls as the park board president now from people that are a little concerned about this issue because we're being offered more parklands now since the levy passed, and I want to thank you for that support. But, you know, it seems like anybody that's a nonprofit can protect, you know, a lot of land, and it seems like Ashtabula County is pretty, I guess, ripe for the picking because of the price of our land here. And I guess that's all I want to say, but I just want to thank you for your support. And I don't know how you do it, but you seem to be everywhere.
He does.
I tried. Thanks, Bob. Good to see you.
Yep. Have a great
Good
day.
talk to you. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He's a great guy.
Good guy. Very, very good guy. I got to ask you this before I let you go. Have you heard anything more about the governor running for president?
Well, let me say this. He's been to South Carolina, he's been to New Hampshire, he went to hear Netanyahu speak the other day, and I can tell you this, that there are some definite rumblings in Columbus that he's putting his toe in the water, and you will not see him listed with the headliners just yet.
Yeah.
But he may be the one that they turn to if a logjam is created at the top as more of a moderate candidate. And I can tell you, going back to this water quality issue, the reforms that he is proposing in the governor's office are ones that we had fought for. When I say we, the Democrats, who my colleagues in there, to try and implement, and we got a lot of pushback. So he's taking on some, and I'm just being matter of fact in this, taking on some members of his own party to fashion himself on that issue, and he has to because Toledo was a national incident. More of a moderate candidate. So in some ways, it can definitely benefit us by more moderate policies in Ohio to benefit everybody. On the other hand, when he's not there, there's a vacuum, and I'm disappointed that he didn't weigh in sooner on this issue to kind of be part of it. Was when the House and the Senate were working together.
How is the legalization of marijuana thing going?
That is, there's still no talk at all. Oh, you'll hear random representative talking about it in terms of medicinal marijuana. It's going to have to be a ballot issue at this point. I was asked that question yesterday, and I want to go back to the local food council. I want to talk to you about that before I leave.
Sure.
But it's going to be on if they get the signatures. I don't know if they're going to get the signatures to put it on the ballot. But I'm very much concerned, and I'm watching what's happening in Colorado and Washington State, because I think there are some legitimate concerns that we need to be aware of as we move forward. And I don't know what, I mean, in my heart I know what I feel, but it's important that we do the right thing, because there are some legitimate medicinal uses, especially for young people with seizures, as we discussed earlier. but I don't want to just throw open Pandora's box either.
Our friend out in Anaheim, Jim Bailey, we had a nurse on the other day that said that marijuana smoking was safer than smoking a regular cigarette. Well, he countered that with American Lung Society Association. Information said it's 33 times worse than smoking a regular cigarette because you're holding it in longer. He had a bunch of other facts that were startling, and so he was trying to make the case that it's not good for you.
No.
You know, that
No.
health-wise.
No.
And
The encapsulated form, pill
encapsulated
form,
is
is
different.
what I would
Yes.
promote.
Yes.
Right.
That is medicinal.
Right.
Medicinal. But now, the other thing that I noticed, John, is, and my wife mentioned it to me Saturday, she's seeing signs, bumper stickers now, going for the legal
Legalization of-
legalization. And I told her those signs don't vote. I mean, this has got to go to a vote before this is ever going to happen.
Right.
If it ever does happen.
They have to get hundreds of thousands of signatures. The ballot language have
400,000
to,
or something.
yeah, the ballot language has to be approved. And then you're talking about mounting a statewide campaign that is very difficult to do to educate the
expensive.
voters, and expensive. There would be a lot of people who would put up a lot of money to make sure that that happened.
Mhm.
But Pat, I come back to this, and this is what I struggle with all the time. I want to do what's right as best I can for my people.
Mhm.
And money doesn't motivate me. I'm not into material things. I just want to do what's right. And I think there are others out there who may be more motivated for different reasons without that particular conscience in the back of their mind gnawing at them. So when I look at these issues from fracking to, and I had a conversation, many conversations about the refinery in Ashtabula. These things keep me up late at night looking at that, as Bob mentioned, at that balance again,
Sure.
between preservation and progress and what's best for our people here. I weigh all of these decisions heavily. It creates great strain in my sleeping habits.
Yeah, I imagine it could be very
Because
stressful.
I care about our people.
You
I
wanna
care
make it
about our
right.
district. Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Food Council. Can we talk about that real quick?
Yes, we can.
Real quick. Yesterday afternoon at Henderson Memorial Library, in Jefferson, the Asheville County Food Council met, and this is a group of farmers, local farmers, who are trying to band together to sell their produce various places throughout the county.
Mhm.
Well, I told them back in January when we met that I would see if I could bring in some of our big consumers. And lo and behold, I was very pleased. Our good warden, Brigham Sloan, was there yesterday. Mike Kowalski from ACMC was there yesterday.
Yeah.
We had a number of Grand Valley Schools was there. Jefferson was represented, ATEC, PV, and Grand Valley. So not all our school folks could attend, but and I did invite university systems too, and for some reason that didn't pan out. Bottom line is, I was trying to show and illustrate the fact that there is a ready market. You know how many meals Warden Sloan was able to calculate real quick? How many meals they serve there over the course of a year?
No idea.
It's well over 1 million.
Really?
Over 1 million. Well, 3 a day,
Yeah.
365 days, 1,700. And the hospitals have well over, I think Mike said over 225,000 meals they'll serve in any given year.
Okay.
That's a lot of opportunity for our local farmers if we can mesh this together. And we talked about 2 products that would be easy if we can coordinate this.
Being,
Grapes
yeah.
and apples as a way of beginning this process, because we produce a lot of food, but it leaves our borders. And I just don't mean the county, I mean the state in the United States, and that's all right. I mean, there's a place for that. But if we can recycle what we produce here and stimulate our local economy, it can have an even greater impact for those foodstuffs that we can produce. So there was a great discussion about the warden wants to have hoop houses there, so to teach them more about agriculture, the inmates about agriculture, and to help supplement to some extent the menu there. Point of the matter is that leads into another issue. The gap between our farmers, the farming age is very high in Ashtabula County, and we're not getting the young people moving in that direction. There's a gap. And so in this budget, I'm working with another rep to try to increase funding. Remember VOAG and FFA? To allow schools to bring that back again to fill this gap. Because what do we do best in Northeast Ohio? Well, it's agricultural industry that can't be outsourced. While we also look at processing. I had some of our fish guys there yesterday too. And I think we've discussed about that before. Harry Spieth, who has a fish farm down on Stanley Road. Okay, the issue there is processing, but in our poultry folks, the issue again is processing, making sure that we can. The nearest white meat processing center for poultry is in Holmes County, so it's quite a barrier there. Bottom line is, agriculture is one of the things that we can hang our hat on that cannot be outsourced. While we continue to improve tourism and agritourism, and while we continue to court the industrial and business base that we can too, given our proximity to water and transportation.
So this council is what basically is wanting to use our resources here.
Yep. Our local growers.
Local growers that would help them out financially.
You got it. And create more jobs.
And create more jobs. And
to be consumed locally.
But there's got to be other things that are growing on a farm that could be utilized also, right?
Oh, yeah. With the hoop houses, we can grow lettuce year-round. Kale is another one. And lettuce, things like that.
Yeah.
The tomatoes. I mean, we used to be huge in tomatoes. Potentially, yeah. Potentially. And that's where we need help.
These
with
hoop
those
houses and all that stuff, like a little mini greenhouse, or?
Yeah, we would call them greenhouses, but they're made a little bit different to take advantage of energy efficiency.
Okay. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. So, and from there, then you go into food processing. Think of what Welch's has in terms of what they did for our grape industry, or Smucker's in Orville, and all the jobs that creates.
Right.
And again, stable jobs. Yeah. I'm also supporting an amendment in the budget that would support a feasibility study for a maple research center.
Oh.
As the Grape Research Center out here in Kingsville has done to help stimulate our wineries, we can do a lot more with maple syrup. Ohio used to be a huge producer of maple syrup. I think we can. Again, there's a lot of research that can go along in terms of food preparation and cooking. Research with trees itself, sweet trees that have a higher sugar content that would require less boiling then to be able to get them ready from raw material to market. So again, research to take advantage, because maple trees for sugar maples don't grow everywhere in the world. There's only the Great Lakes is one of the few areas in the world where they can sustain them. Trying to take advantage of the natural gifts we've been given, so these jobs can't be outsourced while we continue to attract other businesses.
Good stuff. That's real good stuff. I see the maple syrup is starting to run now.
Yeah, was out at Bissell's a week ago. And it was the first day they were boiling, on the Maple Madness tour. And last year, I think Nate told me they had 35,000 on that date, 35,000 gallons to boil. They only had 2,000 at the same time this year.
Yeah.
So we're way behind because of the cold winter. But hopefully, in the last week, I think would have been pretty good with the fluctuation in temperatures. This week looks pretty. Although Wednesday, get out your shorts, Pat. 60.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 60. I'm
and then
hoping.
back down into the 30s.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's go up and down.
that's why we love it here. But that's a very viable industry. And here's the beauty of that. Here's the beauty of that. With this CAUV issue, there are some farmers that are going to be forced, feel the temptation, just to clear cut their woodlands.
Mhm.
Take the money and essentially run. Well, the problem is then we've got an area that is not doing anybody any good.
Mhm.
My goal is to incentivize those woodlot owners to think about maples as a sustainable source of revenue
Mhm.
for the future. Also, we can grow the daylights out of oak, red oak and white oak. And I found out a few weeks ago through the Tree Farmers Association that the wood furniture producing center of the universe right now is down in Holmes County
Holmes County.
with white oak, red oak, that sort of thing. Again, by proper management of our woodlands. And we've got a lot of invasive species, and Nate Paskey could really help you with that.
Yeah.
If we can manage those, our woodlots that also help filtration for the water quality issues and air quality. If we can incentivize our farmers to have some better management practices to provide more revenue through maple or the oaks, it would help us all too. So I'm looking at that.
Is black oak very expensive?
You know, I don't know. I've
Somebody
never
mentioned
really-
black oak the other day, and I don't know if it was Dennis that called earlier or not. I can't remember, but I thought he said it's very expensive wood.
Very well could.
You know, so I'm not
Must be
familiar
rare.
with that stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But red and white we go. And again, you see how the picture all ties in together here? Taking advantage of what we have, what we
I like
can grow
I like that.
for something sustainable.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Pat, and hi, John.
Hi.
Hi, Linda.
Linda. Pat, wasn't it black walnut?
Black walnut.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, black
that was
walnut.
Yeah.
Black walnut.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Thanks for-
I wasn't trying to say you were wrong, but
No,
I
I-
know black walnut is popular.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't.
You're
remember
welcome.
that. All right. Bye
Thanks, John, for
Th-
doing such an excellent job.
Thanks. I'll keep working for you.
bye.
You do, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Quick story on black walnut. My father-in-law used to work with wood.
Okay.
And one time he went over to Smokers in Geneva just to look for, he was looking for scraps and such. And he came back horrified. Somebody had turned pallets, or made pallets out of black walnut.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. He took everything they had, because they were selling it for scrap. He went through the pile and pulled out the nails, and he was that serious about, yeah.
Oh my.
If you don't know what you're doing, and this is where professional management comes in. If you don't know where you're going, those black walnut, to use them for pallets as opposed to
Terrible.
fine furniture, yeah, absolutely right. Black walnut is definitely something that,
So what you're saying to us here is you're trying to bring in these, like agriculture, these kind of groups to kind of meld together, and that might put us in a new direction.
exactly.
The bottom line.
Right, that's the bottom line. We cannot, here's the reality. We can't expect a Ford or Chrysler, a big company, to come
Correct.
back here.
Correct.
I mean, it's going to be different. We can never go back to the good old days, even though we yearn for that. That's reality. So my thinking has been, what do we have that's a gift that nobody else has? That lake is one. Our agricultural base is another. The fact that people have to eat, the transportation system we have, the 2 ports, the fact that there are only 8 counties in Ohio with lakefront property, the interstate, the airport that we have. Whatever gifts that we have, let's develop those to their fullest and develop them locally so the money keeps generating here. And then going back to local foods, I think of our restaurants, our fine restaurants that would like to have a sustainable source. And think of Bridge Street, think of Geneva on the Lake now. So my vision is a warehouse where we could store our apples, our grapes, our potatoes, whatever, somewhere located centrally in the county, So a restaurant could take advantage of that, our schools to take advantage of that, our prison, our hospitals, our nursing homes. Fresh food produced here, consumed here, that helps stimulate our economy here.
Yeah, I love that philosophy. I really do.
So,
You know, the last time we had any kind of major potential of something happening here big was when U.S. Steel wanted to put the mill, or talked about putting the mill here. You remember that back
Yes, I
in
do.
76, 75, 40 years ago. And it's funny because a couple of years afterwards, our police chief and I used to go to lunch every day. And he told me that, Pat, to be honest with you, we would have never been ready for that. That would have taken over this town, and we didn't have a big enough police department to even handle the crime that you'd get from something like that. And he goes, it's probably a good thing that it didn't happen. And he goes, that's hard for me to say because you want jobs, but he said, you sometimes have a double-edged sword with that sort of stuff. And then, like you say, it's gone away. You're not going to get a Ford or a Saturn like we tried to get here years ago, too. It's not going to happen.
I mean, you might, but I'd rather, it's sort of like baseball. Your odds of getting a single are a lot better than hitting a home run.
Correct.
So let's hit some singles first. Let's load the bases, and then let's maybe get lucky and hit a triple or a home run.
Yeah. I like that. I like that philosophy. Now it makes me feel good.
You're uplifted. You're in Conneaut. What could be better than being in Conneaut?
I feel good about that we are trying to use the resources that we have and expand upon them, because this is the first time that I really heard this direction, and I think it's good. I never thought of it that way, but this interview, I think we'll be showing this here over the next week or so. So thank you so much, John. I kept you overtime today, but it was very interesting.
Always a pleasure.